I'm going to go into the next action, which is triphasic loading. I have to change your thinking here because we're going to put this triphasic method into the undulating model. This is why I speak of my triphasic undulating block methods. You have to keep this in mind. All dynamic muscle action is triphasic. There are 3 parts. There's an eccentric, dynamic, right? Pitcher throws, okay? You do a squat. When you're running and your foot strikes the ground, there's 2 parts to there's an insertion, there's an origin. So when your muscle actually goes through a range of motion, even though it may be a circular, your muscle has had 3 parts. An eccentric, the stretch reflex actually takes place, and if it has to stop, there's an isometric. A brief moment, split second, but it's got to be an isometric phase. And then there's a concentric, okay? You can read these about Newton's law and everything when it comes time, but ultimately you have to understand every dynamic movement in sports. This is the thinking process. So you're going to evaluate movements as you see them, and then you can program to evaluate movements. Give me the next slide, please. And here's where it dawned on me about 8 years ago. These are 2 athletes, the same bench max. Okay? What they did, they put 205 on the bar with band tension. Okay? I think it's about 80 pounds of band, or 90. Yeah, probably 90. Same max. This athlete, world class. This athlete, not. Right there it is. Folks, this is the difference. This is seconds, time. Okay, this is force. We're measuring the force. So the athlete brings it down hard and fast, stops it on their chest, but not with their chest, but with their arms. Because if you stop, actually, if you bounce this weight on the, if you bounce the weight on your chest, they wouldn't see this spike because you don't cause a stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is the most powerful movement that humans have. Okay, so this elite athlete brings the bar down extremely fast, stops it instantly, and brings it up. 66-foot shot putter, okay, at the time. This athlete had trouble breaking 50. Can you see the difference? Now, this is the thinking process. And they're the same max, folks. Same max. This person is sympathetic dominant. Their nervous system is very high end. So, with this concept, I actually split this down the middle and came to realize, if you can give me the next slide, this eccentric part, he's bringing it down. He can control more weight. He has more eccentric strength. Right here, if you're looking at this whole spectrum, this athlete, with this line drawn down the middle, I actually get to see that there's correlations here. Every athlete I check, if this is poor, this is poor. Okay, so then it dawned on me, I have to understand the value of the eccentric phase, because a lot of people say, okay, we're going to get more explosive, and they want to train this. But folks, I will never see an athlete come in with a pink line and leave with that line unless it's a motor skill that has been facilitated in some way, or there's something that you're not measuring correctly, or there's some different intensities. So you have to understand the eccentric phase when an athlete does. Now, let's say, when does that happen? On the bench press, I bring it down fast and they stop it and shoot it up. That's easy. On the field, if an athlete goes to make a cut, and you see when they make that cut, their give collapse, there's eccentric strength. To make that athlete quicker, you have to work eccentric strength for that particular leg so that they cause a greater stretch reflex to propel themselves out of that hole forward. Okay? It's a simple concept. The more force you can absorb, the more you can reapply. Because there's free energy there. What happens when this weight comes down? The tendons are stretched. Like those jump stretch bands. I want that to help me push my bench weight versus a guy with muscles. You want a guy to add 60 pounds as he pulls up, or do you want a jump stretch band adding 60 pounds? That jump stretch band will help you much, much more, okay? Because it's accelerating. Now, if you go to the next slide, eccentric component, and this is a triphasic. Here's the second phase, isometric. Right there it is. Folks, I think this is intertwined. I truly believe, if you look at the EMG studies, and just, they're getting more detailed now. The concentric phase is very coordinated often. That's why athletes get better. That's motor unit synchronization, fire code rating, everything involved. But the eccentric and the isometric, somewhat confusing because all the muscles are firing. So you increase these qualities. Now, I'm not saying you always have to work eccentric, but I think these two kind of run together, the eccentric and isometric component. So the sooner you can bring that weight to stop, whatever it's in, the faster and harder and greater stretch reflex you're going to cause to send the weight forward. Quarterback throwing a ball. If you make his posterior shoulder stronger, he can bring the ball back harder and faster, which then will actually make him throw it forward in the concentric phase better. Okay? Let's go to the concentric. Back one. There we go. Now the concentric phase. Again, I said these are correlated. So I broke these up, and here's how I train to get my best results for all my athletes to put it into exercise sequencing of the triphasic aspect. So we'll go to the next.